fine then. We'll just keep it as it is. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming along. I'll sort of include more attendees as they join. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Karen McCannon, and I'm the founder of Money Insights. So what is it that we do? If you haven't already seen me on LinkedIn or if any of my videos, we offer a financial matchmaking service for UK businesses. So think of us like Tinder for finance, but it's nothing to do with romantic matches and everything to do with money matches within business. Essentially, we really just help our members make the most of their business finances. And we do that by going out there and sourcing financial opportunities. So that might be grants, tax incentives, funding initiatives, business savings. And we match those opportunities with finance experts. We then put that together, we ship that out to our members every month, and we keep it fresh and we change it up. And it's really just to help our members, as I say, get the most out of their business finances. So today's talk is obviously all about pensions, and we're going to bring one Mattioli. So Stacy Cushnan is going to be our guest speaker today. She is a member and partner with Money Insights. So Gary has actually raised his hand. I wonder, I'll allow you to talk, Gary, in case there's something you've got to. Oh, no, hand was down. Okay, no problem. All right, like I said, today is all about pensions and maximising that. So, Stacey, please be a great opportunity for you to pop on and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, so I'm a wealth management consultant at Mattioli. I have been advising for about 8 years now, and prior to that I trained as an accountant. So I have basically been in this industry all of my working life, really.
So pensions, we'll keep this talk really light, Stacey, because Money Insights is all about making money easy. It's taking what could be perceived as complex topics and just really drilling them down and talking about them like you would to someone on the bus or in the pub. So when it comes to pensions, I mean, one of well, I suppose any financial service, one of the most important things is the partner that you work with. It's the experts that can guide you and sort of support you. So give me a little idea on why that's just so important in your space.
Yeah, so I think one of the main things is the responsibility of your pension provider is making sure that the investments that you've got are suitable for your needs and that they're managed securely. So I think one of the things that you need to really be looking for is making sure that you are working with a reputable firm that's got some good financial stability, so that, you know, if anything was to happen, if there was any bad advice given or what have you, that they're in a position that they're able to help you out with that as well and kind of put you right. You want to work with someone who's got a good reputation in the industry and someone that's going to be quite responsive to any queries and questions that you've got, because one of the things with your pension is that it's something that's going to change and adapt as you go through your journey of being a business owner and also as you approach retirement as well. So it's really making sure that you've got someone who can kind of be there at your beck and call and be able to answer any questions and problems that you've got. And then also being able to work with someone who's quite clear on the fees that they'll charge you with your pensions, and making sure that they've got a range of different investment options for you, and it can also guide you in terms of the returns that you've got as well. I think it's quite easy to work with someone who is always going to say, yes, we can do that for you. But I think one of the responsibilities that I've got as a financial planner is making sure that the objectives that the clients have got are realistic and something that they can work towards. So it's either a conversation of, okay, this is the strategy that we'll put you in place to help get you there. Or one of the more awkward conversations that we sometimes have to have is changing your objectives a bit to make them a bit more realistic. So it's important that you do work with someone that can kind of push back and challenge you a wee bit on your plans.
Excellent. And you know, it's kind of made me think because I assume, well, maybe you can tell us, what's the typical attitude that businesses have when they come to you about their pension? You know, maybe is it completely varied? Do some come and they're all over it and they've been maximising it for a while. Others, it's a very new concept to them. I imagine it can be, a bit difficult to actually find out where they are right now with things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I guess it kind of depends on the journey of the business owner. So sometimes you'll have people who have worked at various different jobs and then decided, you know what, I can do this myself. And someone in that situation, you'll probably find that they've got a few different pensions elsewhere. And so it's just naturally been ingrained into them that I'll continue making my pension contributions because that's the done thing. And then you've also got some people who have maybe set up their business a bit earlier on down the line. And so the pension hasn't been a priority because they've been so focused on being able to build up the business, being able to even just draw an income in some cases, that a pension is perhaps an expense that hasn't been a priority for them. And so they kind of come to me saying, right, I'm starting to think about retiring. What can I do? How can I get there? So it is very much a mixed bag.
It's interesting, the DIY side of things, because there's so many. I mean, my world is ultimately, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Everything that Money Insights shares intel on, you can get it yourself. But the question is, do you want to? Do you want to spend that time going out and finding the information? And so, do you get some horror stories where you've seen people have tried to do this themselves, or take control of it, and they've perhaps done something untoward, or they've not set something up right and they've missed out on opportunities? Do you ever see that?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of different horror stories out there. I mean, you do tend to see that when something bad happens in financial services, it inevitably hits the press and it's everywhere. So there are quite a few different horror stories. I mean, I've got clients who have been invested in a few different property syndicates and it hasn't worked out, and so basically they lost out their pension investments. Now luckily for them, they had done this with a regulated advisor, so they were protected through various different compensation schemes and they were able to be put right. But I think one of the most horrifying story that I have had is actually one of my clients who was a consultant for the NHS, and many years ago, there was a short window for members of the NHS scheme to be able to transfer out of their pension. And at the time, he was actually looking to retire early due to ill health. So what he did was he approached a financial advisor, but he didn't realise at the time that this advisor wasn't regulated. So anyway, he was basically looking to maximise his retirement income. He transferred his NHS pension scheme into what he thought would be a more flexible arrangement for him. And this advisor then made a series of poor investment choices. And whilst my client was drawing what he thought would be a sustainable income at the time, the pension pot was actually really rapidly depleting. And what the advisor decided to do to try and fix this was he recommended transferring the pension scheme to one that was overseas, and it was based in Malta. And so this in itself came with a whole host of different problems. The pension had 10-year exit penalties, it had upfront costs for transferring into it, and probably one of the worst parts of it at all was the fact that the annual management fees were on a fixed basis based on the initial transfer value. So as the pension was depleting over the year with underperformance, the fees that he was paying on an ongoing basis were really quite disproportionate to the value of his pension. And so this got to a point where he couldn't even draw an income out of his pension, and he was actually having to pay the ongoing fees for the pension out of his own pocket because he didn't want to pay these early exit penalties on it. So it was an absolute nightmare for him. And then to add insult to injury, there was an error on it that was corrected that resulted in a small refund for him. And this set off the exit charges all over again. It restarted that 10-year period. And my client had absolutely no idea that all of this was going on behind the scenes. It wasn't being made clear to him that this was happening. So when he finally got to me, he was actually introduced to me from another advisor who was actually retiring, and he was selling his practice to Mattioli routes. And he had tried for a couple of years with this client to try and make the existing scheme that he had worked. And by the time the client got to me, we sat down and we just put in paper all the costs for keeping the pension scheme going until the exit charge was going to fall off naturally itself. And we compared that with how much it would cost him to actually just cash it in now, take it out, bring it back overseas, and have a regular UK based pension and have the ability to actually take an income from it. And in the end, that's actually what we decided to do. We paid the exit fee and we got him transferred back over to the UK. And he's now in a situation where he's obviously trying to seek compensation for this because he was given quite bad advice at the time. And hindsight is a great thing, isn't it? He possibly could have stopped it from going overseas, but at the end of the day, he did trust his advisor. And so he's in a situation where he's trying to seek redress and he's not able to get anything. And the flip side to that is that if he had done this with a regulated advisor, if they had given him all of that kind of advice, he would actually be protected by the Financial Ombudsman Service and also the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. And there would be steps that he could take to sort this out. I mean, he was a very well-respected and esteemed consultant in the NHS. You would think that he's going to have this amazing retirement, but the reality for him is that poor investment decisions have been made, and he's now in a situation where he's having to take a smaller income than you would have expected because we're trying to preserve the rest of the pension pot so that it is going to last him into his 80s and 90s and what have you.
Really good point, Stacey, about being regulated, because obviously with myself working in the finance industry, I have to make sure that the partners that we work with are vetted and that they're credible and trustworthy. And of course, one of the topics that I work within is with the whole research and development tax space. So we have partners there, and I need to kind of make sure that, okay, how do we vet these partners? Okay, how long have they been in the industry? What's their success rate with HMRC? What's their case studies? Are they active on social media? Are they open about inquiries and audits and all these kind of things? So what advice could you give the viewers if they were looking at a pension provider? How do they make sure that they're picking a good one? I mean, making sure that they're regulated. How do they check that?
Yeah, so I mean, all the pension providers are going to have the usual disclaimers that you see in the small print on websites. But I think one of the things that is quite good in our industry is that we are all, as advisors, individually regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So whilst I work for Mattioli Woods, it's myself that is actually responsible for the suitability of my advice. So what that means is that you can actually Google my name on the FCA register and it will bring up for you, and it will give you my career history. It will tell you the different practices that I've worked at. It will tell you how long I've been a licensed advisor. It will tell you if there has been any complaints upheld against me. So when you do pick a firm, you also need to do that extra little bit of due diligence with the actual advisor that you're appointed to as well. And I think that's one of the changes that's happened in our industry that has actually been a very good one, because you're not then just like, well, Mattioli Woods is fantastic at giving advice. You're also like, but I have also checked on Stacy Cushnan or any of my other colleagues, and you can see that there is a reputation there and that there hasn't been any complaints and what have you held up against them.
It's actually because it's that extra step, I suppose. I quite like that. I didn't realise that's how it works. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And so again, using the R&D example, again, I'll go back to this just to compare. Not all R&D partners will be perfect for the viewers or the companies that they're going after. And some will say, look, you're not at that criteria, or you're not at this level, or we work with X and Y type of businesses. It's Mattioli Woods, is there a particular session that you operate within, or is there a particular kind of business that you are more applicable with?
Yeah, so Mattioli Woods started back in the 90s, and they actually started as a pension consultancy business. And over the years, as the clients have asked for other things like your personal investments, your ISAs, your bonds, and what have you, Mattioli Woods has then adapted to that But really at the core of Mattioli Woods, it is the pension providing. It's your self-invested personal pensions, it's your small self-administered schemes, really aimed at business owners being able to use their pensions as well. And it's grown from there. So we do also have our personal clients as well, but the main specialty for Mattioli Woods is business owners in terms of their pensions. And then we also do have a very large employee benefits arm as well. Now, there's separate consultants for that because it's a whole other minefield. So it's not something that I get involved in personally. But we do also have consultants out there that specialise in your group schemes, your group life assurance policies, critical illness, and various other employee benefits packages that you look for when you go to an employer these days.
Okay, so when you're saying sort of business owners, is that across the whole board? Is that startups, SMEs, large corporates, or what would you say you work with more often?
Yeah, it's absolutely everything. It's basically anyone who is looking to use their pensions as a tool for their business. We don't have a minimum case size. So the benefit of pensions is starting as early as possible with them, basically. So, if someone came to me and says, oh, I just want to set up a pension and start paying a couple of £100 a month into it, I'm a business owner, yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll still sit down and do the full kind of review from you, find out what your plans are for your business to make sure that you're in the most suitable pension and that the pension will actually adapt to you as your business grows and develops. And then similarly down the line, we perhaps have some business owners who, once they're retiring, we're looking at changing their more complex schemes because they're not using all the bells and whistles of it, and they're looking for a more simplified strategy. And so we'll also then work with them to convert what they have got into something that's more suitable for their stage of life that they're at.
Yeah, so again, perfect implemented money insight. You're helping them get the most out of the money at every stage of their growth. From day one till they take the money out. Okay. I'm curious, for contacts that join these calls and for people that are interested in this topic, they're either in a position where this is very new to them, and like you said, they're coming along and saying, I think I'd like to look into this, I think I'd like to start, and then you've got more experienced owners, etc. The question is, where a question just falls out your head as you're talking through an example. So yes, you could start off. Yeah, so that was it. If they're unaware of what's involved, if they're unaware of what this journey looked like, what do you explain to them to perhaps just give them a very picturesque idea on this is why you would set the pension up. Here's the kind of journey of what you may go through as a business owner, and this is the end result. This is the goal that you're wanting to get to. Is that kind of how you pitch it to companies coming to you, or is it different?
Yeah, so I think in terms of pensions, quite a lot of business owners kind of think of it as it's something that's completely separate. It's a separate retirement vehicle that can be used to build up a retirement pot, but it's not necessarily going to be crucial for their business operations. But the reality is that certain pensions out there can be used for the benefit of the business itself. So if you look at a self-invested personal pension, or a SIP as we call it, and also a small self-administered scheme, which is a SAS. Both of these pensions give business owners the opportunity to purchase their business premise within it. And so basically this gives them a few different advantages. First of all, it means that they can remove that asset from their balance sheet, so it's completely protected against creditors. Capital gains within a pension are completely tax-free, so it gives them an environment for this premise to appreciate and value in a very tax-advantaged environment. They can then use it to pay market value of rent into the pension, so they're then benefiting their retirement plans later on down the line, but they're just using it from a normal business expense that the business would normally be paying. And these rental payments are tax deductible, so they are saving the corporation tax on it. And the pension is also not paying any income tax when it receives those payments as well. So it's a very tax efficient way to increase your pension contributions and also extract some of the cash out of your business as well. And then it also gives them the option of when they come to sell the business, they can either sell the property as part of the sale of the business, or they can choose to keep it within the pension and maybe rent it out to another business or sell it separately. So it then gives them a bit more control over selling the business, because if they're selling it to someone that might not necessarily want the property value, the property included within it, it could hinder the sale. So it gives them a bit more flexibility in terms of selling the business later on down the line with the asset. And also with some pensions, the business can actually borrow money from it as well. So let's say that they're looking for a wee bit of a cash injection, then it can use what we call a loan back facility. Now, there are very specific conditions that must be met for this loan, but this can give a cash injection into the business. Rather than taking a commercial loan and paying interest to a bank, the interest is then paid into the business itself. And so it very much is a tool that can be used for the value of, for the benefit of the business, as well as complementing your own personal retirement plans later on down the line as well.
Someone like Mattioli Woods, you're like the sounding board. You're coming to your clients and you're saying, like, here's an overview of where you are right now. You've told me where you want to go. Here's the options you've got available to you right now. Let's reassess that in 5 years' time. Let's reassess that in 10 years' time. And it's really about kind of educating them on how to get the most out of this, like I said, at every stage of their growth. That's increasingly.
Exactly, yeah. So basically, I think part of the thing that I love about my job is I'm really planning for the future. So I'm not necessarily looking about how the business has got to where it is just now. I'm looking at where you want the business to be later on down the line. And then it's a case of, right, how can we get there? How can we do this? Let's put in place a strategy that's going to help you get there. And so my initial chat with a business owner or someone that's looking to set up a business is the exact same as my initial chat with someone who has been running their business for years and years and years, and they've got a really strong, sturdy business and they know where they're going with it. My chats are always the same, because at the end of the day, I need to make sure that the pension that you take out at the first time is the one that's most suitable for you. You don't want to take out the cheapest pension just so that you can, have a pension there that's then not going to change as your business changes and your business grows and develops. If it's likely that you're going to need any of these facilities from the pension, you're best just taking that from the get-go rather than having to pay set-up fees twice. And so it's very much a conversation about what's your dreams, what's your goals, where's your business going?
Yeah, I think that's important for business owners because, again, this is a topic that they're not expert in. They're coming to you for your advice, your knowledge, your input, and they almost need to not be steered by you, but guided at least on what their options are. So something that I'm quite curious about as well, Stacey, is you've got you're someone that's not heavily involved in your world, well, to an extent. Fees is obviously something that will come up, and it would be really useful to maybe, you don't need to go into exact detail on the fees in Mattioli Woods, because I know that packages will range, but what does the fee structure look like in your space? What would companies need to be aware of in terms of the financial implications of working with someone like yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, it really does vary depending on the work that we're going to be doing, and this does all form part of that initial meeting that you have. So basically, as a potential client leaves the first meeting with me, they should have an idea as to likely what the fees are going to be. They're not going to know exactly pounds and pence how much it's going to be until I've had a chance to do my research and what have you. But basically, there's three main different fee structures that can be put in place. So we can look to do something on a time costed basis. So as it sounds, it's time costed. If you use 10 hours worth of time, then you get billed for 10 hours. If you use 2 hours, then you'll get billed for 2 hours. And this is quite good for businesses who some years they're going to have lots of transactions and things that happen within their pension scheme, and some years it's going to be less so because it kind of averages itself out over the time. You've then also got a percentage basis. So we could agree that, your ongoing advice fee is going to be 0.85% of however much you've got invested with us. As the value of your pension goes up, your pounds cost of your fee goes up because it's a percentage basis. And similarly, if you're drawing down, then your costs are then going to go down as the pension starts to deplete. And then we do also have a fixed cost basis as well. So a client can come to me and say, listen, I don't want any ongoing advice from you. I just need you to help me sort this piece of work out for me. And we can sit and we can agree a fixed price at that point. And then if the client decides a year, 2, 3 years later on down the line that they want some more work done, they are well within their rights to come back and say, listen, I've got more work, and we can do that on a fixed fee basis as well.
Do you maybe have a couple of examples of companies you've worked with or individuals you've worked with where you could sort of differentiate, who fell into what category, just to give the audience an idea if that appeals to them or their market?
Yeah, so typically if I'm dealing with personal investments, then that's usually going to be on a percentage basis. It's really straightforward. The client knows where they stand. If the value of the investment goes up, which is obviously my goal is to grow their investment, then the overall costs go up because it's based on a percentage. For business owners, it's more common to be doing it on a time costed basis. So for example, a case that I worked on last year was a small family run business. There was 3 directors in it. They had 3 different individual pensions from previous employers. The business owned a commercial property. It was a workshop that they worked from, and they had 50% mortgage on that property. What we did was we pulled together the 3 pension schemes into one master pension scheme and used that to purchase the property. So instead of them paying a mortgage, they were then paying rental income to the pension scheme, which is ultimately helping their retirement plans later on down the line. It then meant that because the pensions were buying the property off of the business, they then had a cash injection that they were then able to reinvest into their business. This led to them being able to take on another member of staff and some machinery and what have you. And it converted their mortgage liability into a growth opportunity in terms of their overall wealth. And it gave them the cash that they needed without having to take out more debt, more commercial loans and what have you, just by restructuring their existing assets. So in a case like that, we did that on a time costed basis because the first year of doing it, there was a lot more work than what is going to be required in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. Obviously, if they did want to expand, maybe have new property premises and what have you, there's more work that's associated with that, and therefore they would be billed appropriately for that. But that gives you an example of a case that is suitable for doing it on a time costed basis. And then for doing it on a fixed fee basis, so again, more so for personal clients rather than commercial clients, but I do have one recently who has a pension value that's in excess of £30,000. She just wants to take the full amount out as one lump sum so that she can pay off her mortgage early. She doesn't need any ongoing advice. She's just cashing this in. I'm doing that on a fixed fee basis because there is a rule that if your pension is over £30,000, the provider will only pay it out to you if you have had advice. So basically all she needs is a letter from me saying either I recommend you do this or I don't recommend you do this. Either way, as long as she's got that letter, she can take that to her provider and basically be able to cash in the pension. And so that's something that would be done as a fixed fee basis.
Excellent. Curious, just from my own perspective, obviously you hear that companies offer pensions and you're in that. Do you ever get involved with, going into companies and giving talks to staff about that? It's something
We do actually, yeah. So, like I said, Mattioli Woods have got an employee benefits arm, and one of the options that they give to their bigger corporate clients is that the clients can opt in to having a salary deduction for an ongoing advice fee. Now, there's like three different packages, but for example, the clients can pay up to £500 per year as an advice fee, which gives them access to me as a wealth management consultant. And then any work that I am likely to do for those clients, that then gets deducted off of their overall initial advice fees because they've already paid it. So we do have that in place, and kind of the added benefit of that is that the company then also has me be able to go in for any financial awareness pieces that they're looking to do with their employees. I've had occasions where I've kind of set up a wee desk in a cafeteria. I was actually in Waitrose, set up a desk in a cafeteria in Waitrose, and I was just there for if anyone wanted to come over and ask any questions. And I would do like a quick triage type session with them and see if it was worthwhile booking them in for a more detailed appointment later on down the line. And I just basically sat there and I did my work for the day with people coming over. And then also we do offer like seminars and what have you. So, there's it's quite common for more so in like call centres and things to do like wealth awareness weeks and things, and they'll have like an expert on meditation come in and they'll do a wee talk and guide people through a guided meditation and different seminars and things like that. And we do tend to get involved with the financial well-being piece of that as well, because um you know what it's like. Your finances kind of rule everything, don't you? So if you've got employees that are stressed about their money, that kind of impacts the quality of the work that they're doing. And sometimes it's just a case of being able to talk through it with someone, and getting a bit of guidance on it. So yeah,
Yeah.
bit of a
Do you know,
rambly
I'm getting the
answer.
impression that's something that's kind of helping Mattioli would stand out. It's that education piece, it's that kind of approachable attitude that you go in with. Would you have anything to add, Stacey, in regards to what makes Mattioli would stand out in the market?
It is, yeah, it is very much that educational piece. Like, I think the thing that I love most about Matthew Woods is the fact that they did start out as pension consultants, and it's kind of gradually over the years they've just added in additional services here and there because the clients are asking for it, and they've very much kept clients at the heart of it. So, like Ian Mattioli is our CEO, and he still works with us, and he still goes out and he sees clients. Like he's still there actually seeing clients. So whenever there's any changes that are being imposed, it's always been imposed from someone who is actually out seeing clients as well. So there's none of these like tick box exercises. We just need to do this so that we can tick this box and then we're absolutely fine. Every way that Matthew Woods operates is done with the clients in mind, and each of the individual consultants has complete autonomy over how we manage our clients. Like if I want my clients to have one review a year, if I want them to have three reviews a year, it's up to me to be able to manage that. There's not anyone at the top saying you must do this, you must do that, in terms of my clients. So I think whilst we are a big company, you do have that kind of lower level localized service of, it's your advisor that is making all the decisions. It's just we have the backing of someone that is picking the funds, and that's their job day in day out. It means that I am free to be able to sit with my clients and do the planning and what have you, and then someone else is feeding into me about the quality of funds, what I should be suggesting and recommending and what have you. So um I think for me, that's what keeps me at Matthew Woods is the fact that I can basically work with my clients in the way that I see fit.
Yeah, and that's coming from the experience of you running your own business. That's because they that personal approach.
Yeah.
We do have one question that's come in from Kelly Wright, and I do apologise, I am getting some of the attendees saying that they can hear you perfectly well, Stacey, but myself it's coming through a bit crackly. So I apologise if that's an audio issue on my end. I'm trying to go on mute in between, or it could be traffic going by. But Kelly's question for you is, how much would a one-off fact-finding / advice session be? And I know that would be a hard question to answer, not knowing anything about Kelly, but maybe we could just give that an idea.
So the initial fact finding session is completely free. So basically, what I would do is I would sit with you and have we say an hour meeting, right? But I'm quite a chatty person, and as you can probably tell from this, so it can usually take between an hour and 90 minutes. We would go through it, and I would basically go through absolutely everything. I would find out where you're at just now and where you want to be going forward, and then what I would be able to do is produce for you a strategy document. And what this would do is give you some potential solutions. And if you decided at that point that you wanted to go ahead, I would be able to tell you what the cost would be. And that's the point where I'm able to tell you in pounds and pence exactly how much this is going to cost. And then it's up to you at that point if you want to go ahead with it. So there's no obligation, and full disclosure, there is sometimes that I'll sit down and I'll do one of these fact find meetings with clients, and it's just a case that they need a little bit of guidance. They don't necessarily need a full blown recommendation, they just need to understand something a bit better. And that's what I do. Like I tell them, and I put it in a strategy document for them, and off they go. Not everyone will need a financial advisor, and that's absolutely fine. Some people do obviously benefit from it, and those costs are kind of done on a case by case basis.
Perfect. What would be the best way to reach out to you? Would you prefer the introductions come through Money Insights to keep it circular? Would you rather than just email you directly? What would you prefer?
Either way, so I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn, obviously, and all of my email address and all that. I won't bother spelling out my name because it's a name that needs spelled out. But you can either contact me through that, or I'm more than happy for things to go through Money Insights, because I personally think that Money Insights is such a great idea. And so for me, I would obviously like to know what is coming through Money Insights so that I can kind of keep a track of that, as I'm probably sure you would as well. So either or, if anybody wants to go through yourself, Karen, or if you want to reach out to me directly, either via email or through LinkedIn, I'm open.
I mean, at the end of the day, we want everyone to get the most out of this. Any other questions? Kelly says thank you. That's fine. Well, speaking of pounds and pence, I did mention, and Stacey's given me a lovely wee plug in there about Money Insights. Just for you watching, we are a new startup and we launched in December 24. And I am running an early adopters trial at the moment. And it's really an opportunity for me to, validate this network, validate this finance community. And the idea really is, if you got value from today, if you're a business owner or you are advising businesses on their behalf, then if you think getting access to finance insights, ways to help companies make money, save it, maximise it, whatever it looks like, if you think that would be useful to you or your clients, and I do urge you to join. Not only do you get access to webinars and talks like this, you get the matches sent to you every month, and you also get access to the Members Hub, which has exclusive access to lots of money resources, tips, tools, tricks, and contacts. So yes, if you are looking for a way to support a startup, then today's your lucky day. And you can obviously get a hold of me online as well on LinkedIn. Stacey, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. It's been really insightful. At the end of the day, like I said, I think we've covered a lot, and it's really just to give the viewers an idea of where Mattioli would sit in the pension industry, how you stand out. And of course, it's been really useful to see how approachable and likeable you are, and knowing that we can just come and ask you some questions about it and not feel like it's too overwhelming. So I ask all my speakers to leave the talk with a pearl of wisdom. So when everyone goes on with their day and next week comes and they've forgotten 90% of what we've talked about on here, what is the one thing you want them to remember?
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot now. I think for me, so as you have mentioned, I have been a business owner in the past, and I think one of the most valuable learning curves as I had was knowing when to outsource and when to bring someone else in. So there's only so much that you can do as a business owner. And there's a lot of value of bringing in a solicitor, a financial advisor, an accountant, and all these other specialists because just something like that gives you the chance to be able to focus on your business and actually doing the day-to-day job. Your time is money as well, and so it's a case of being able to spend that on the right things.
I was just answering another question there. I have no idea what's going on with my audio today, folks, but I appreciate you letting me know so that I can action it. But Stacey, this is probably a perfect time then to put the doors on this conversation, but this is only the first one. Mattioli Woods, as I said, is a partner of the insights, and we're going to be bringing back on for more specialised discussions around pensions and what we can do with it to get the most out of it. So thank you so much, Stacey. I will be sending this recording round all of the registration and attendees. And yes, if you do have any questions, there will be some action points and instructions on that email. So thank you everyone for your time and have a great day.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Bye bye.